our weekly AFC Alliance for Change press conference. Today, I'm happy to say we're going to have presentations from leader of the Alliance for Change, Member of Parliament, Hemraj Ramjatan, and from Juritha Finance, Member of Parliament. I'm happy to also let you know that Member of Parliament and Executive Member of the AFC, David Patterson, is also with us at this press conference today. Having done all the introductions and welcome to the media, I would ask Hemraj to start with his presentations.
Thank you, Kathy, and glad to be back after a short vacation overseas. My first statement, I have two, will be on the IHS market audit. The PPP government continues to use disinformation and outright lies to hide from the Guyanese people the true status of the IHS market audit regarding expenses claimed by Exxon and its partners for the period 1999 to 2017. Through obviously excellent investigative work, Stabroek News managed to obtain this audit report and has been publishing its findings. Stabroek News must be congratulated for this, and all Guyana is grateful. We now know that the PPP government was handed the audit report executive. With inflated expenses to the tune of $214 million and government doing nothing for 2 years, means that Guyana and its people have been denied a minimum of $25 million US. When a little black boy or an East Indian boy snatches your chain valued at 25,000 Guyana dollars, that is called larceny. But when a transnational giant denies the entire Guyana this massive sum of $25 million US, it is called economics. In view of the audit report being out by way of Stabroek News, it is incumbent that the PPP government releases it for public consumption and parliamentary deliberations. The AFC always knew that accountability and transparency were never the hallmarks of the PPP. We further feel that some Faustinian deal has been worked out between government and Exxon to not renegotiate the agreement nor scrutinize cost oil. In consideration, Exxon will grant to the PPP government monies at the beck and call and whim and fancy of the government, like recently happened in the matter of monies for the construction of a stadium at Quarantine. This will only lead to a deformed accountability and transparency system and a bypass of the constitutional and statutory framework prescribed for public monies. This is yet another bypass similarly contrived by the PPP and its General Secretary, Bara Jagdeo, to neutralize presidential term limits, the meaning and essence of term limits of no more than 2 terms. The AFC maintains that the earlier Jagdeo goes, the better for all Guyana. He is undoubtedly the architect of these deformities. I wish to add to that statement that the government's explanation coming from the vice president, he denied that the government was hiding the report, contending that the report has been with the staff of the ministry and the GRA and all the technical people for the last several years. It is, again, a corrupt explanation. It certainly does not explain why, once the report was issued as a final version, why it was not made public, and why now we are hearing some strange explanation from the GRA as to certain deficiencies in the report. We are well aware that IHS Markit is a leader in information analytics and solutions for industries and markets. And this is coming from the World Economic Forum, who is presenting IHS Markit as a top-notch company. It delivers information, analytics, and solutions to customers, and it got about 50,000 business and government customers. So it is important that we understand that this final version of the report obviously would have gone through the process of ensuring that Exxon's explanation and all of that ought to have been there. I now go to the second statement. AFC notes that treatment meted out to Tuma Ogunse constitute humiliation. For giving expression to how he feels the PPP government is managing the affairs of this country and opining what should be corrective action, long-standing WPA executive and activist Tuma Ogunse suffered maximum retaliation at the hands of the government through its police agents. The denunciation for words allegedly used by him at a March 9th public meeting at Buxton by President Ali and the AG Nandalal led to a wanted man bulletin by the police, as if the well-known politician was some rampaging felon. Then the denunciation further led to his arrest over the entirety of last weekend, apparently just for the sake of depriving him his liberty, and then further shackling him in foot chains as if he would ever attempt to escape from custody when carrying him to court to plead to a bailable charge. All these actions are nothing but a vengeful humiliation arranged by the PPP government, utilizing the instrumentality of the Guyana police force. The PPP government must know that it is stirring up outrage at the political and racial level when it goes to these ludicrous lengths to get back at a wrong it feels was committed by Mr. Ogunse. The AFC asserts that this was not necessary state action at all and repeats that Guyana is entering dangerous times. The fragility of our democracy is made even more fragile by this kind of treatment of a respected and responsible citizen. It is obvious that the PPP is using the state apparatus to ruthlessly fear into opposition activists Additionally, by such action, the PPP diverting attention from its growing loss of popularity as a result of its massive corruption and bad governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, leader of the Alliance for Change, Comrade Ramjatan. And can I ask Jurita Finance, Member of Parliament, to present her statement today?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The Alliance for Change observed several articles in the press from PPP member of the PAC, Ms. Gil Teixeira, that sought to justify the lack of attendance by the PPP members to several PAC meetings. Ms. Teixeira highlighted, among other things, that there have been more PAC meetings now than there were under the APNU-AFC administration. The AFC wishes to remind the public that the sittings of the Public Accounts Committee under the APNU-AFC administration was subjected to meetings being called by the then PPP chairman, Air Finale, and the quorum for those meetings were 3 members. Thus, the fact that there were less meetings during the APNU-AFC administration is solely at the feet of the PPP. As it regards the emphasis being placed by the PPP on the examination of the 2019 audit report, it must be highlighted that the PAC operates in a bipartisan manner and places equal efforts on all audit reports. Breaches of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act is highlighted in every audit report, and it is the work of the PAC to examine every report with equal importance and make unbiased recommendations to be acted on based on its findings. The Public Accounts Committee has the mandate to scrutinize and oversee public spendings by government agencies. The main function of the PAC is to examine the annual audit reports, investigate any financial irregularities, and hold government officials accountable for mismanagement of public funds. It is therefore understandable that the PAC has a heavy agenda moving forward, with government budget at $781.9 billion and with less accountability and transparency being seen every day. Thus, any stalling of the work of the PAC will have tremendous negative implications for accountability in Guyana. The AFC maintains that the PAC meeting should be given the seriousness that is required by the members of the PPP so that reports, examinations are up to date and taxpayers' dollars are spent according to the financial regulations set out. Thank you.
Thank you, Jurita Finance, Member of Parliament. And at this point in time, I would like to invite members of the media to pose their questions to the presenters and to any other of the Alliance for Change representatives here. Please, as is customary, identify yourself and the media organization you represent. Please raise your hand so that we can get a sense of who is asking questions.
Sent for Exxon to give explanations since November 2020. And apparently none were done. Then the GRA through Mr. Stacia, indicated that IHS Market must produce its final report sometime by March 2021. So if Exxon is not giving the explanation in relation to the first draft of a report, and then it instructs the company that, look, by March, you got to give us our final report, and the people gave the final report, how could you now condemn the people? So there is a little strangeness about that explanation. Now, that explanation came a day after the numero uno called Barajagdeo apparently instructed GRA to come out with a statement. But we know better. We know, this fella is the cause of so much troubles in this country. So that explanation obviously will not meet the very high standard. And we know that IHS Market, when we were in government, we were the one that contracted this leading company to do this work, that they are true professionals. And so it is rather strange that we would have our GRA and its supporting staff there at the behest of the vice president, or the president as we might call him, stating that there are deficiencies and the absence of recommendations in the report and failure to refer to industry standards. Look, I have seen the report now, and the report has recommendations in it. So I don't know what they're saying, that the report doesn't have recommendations. So there might have to be some further explanation, because this is how this government loves to disinform, misinform, create a lot of false and fake news, and so on, by virtue of getting a lot of its state agents and actors making statements and so on. So this explanation that we recently heard is rather strange, as against the professionalism we know from IHS Market.
Thank you, Svetlana.
Kathy, can I just
Sure.
elaborate slightly on Kemraj's response?
Please do.
Adam, I'm reading and I'm quoting here from, this is why I endorse everything that Kemraj has said there, and I find just like him, the response quite strange. I am quoting here from an article on Stabrook News, November the 9th, 2020. And it says, the audit of Exxon's 460 million pre-contract audit has been completed, and the report has been handed to the Department of Energy to be forwarded to the company for its response. Guyana Revenues Authority Commissioner Godfrey Stacer said yesterday, which would have been the 8th of November, and I'm quoting here, "We have actually completed our part," this is in Stabrook News, "and given it to the Department of Energy to give it to Exxon. When you finish an audit, you have to give the other party a chance to respond. This is normal. You have to inform the party of your findings. If not, you have not completed the audit." So that is where it is. That is where I know we last were. So that is November the 9th, Adam, 2020. The final report obviously was issued in March of 2021, some 6 months after, 5 months after. So the discussion now about Exxon not having a chance to comment is strange. The matter that 2 years after, even if that was the issue, 2 years after, Exxon has not commented, or GRA or whoever the relevant authority has not provided a response. And if you can recall, last year, I wrote a question to the Minister of Natural Resources.
That's right.
Requesting the release of these documents. At that time, and if you can go back to the record, in the Parliament record, which I checked, before coming on, he said that the reason it was not audited was because the contract that we issued IHS was deficient. Has zero ideas to do with the Exxon not being able to respond to the question. So the more you look at this, Adam, the more shady it looks. It's more how they've been caught with their pants down. And obviously now the easiest way to do is to deflect, to say that the issues now are not really because of the audit. Every audit, and I also want to make this point clear, Adam, and it seems to be missing everybody, but Jerita can confirm this from the PAC or you could check with any accountant. When an audit starts, you write Exxon. They said you write informing them, I have been appointed the auditor for this account. Please provide me with the information that you have. So the first draft of the audit is not made up on their own. It's made up of the information that was provided to Exxon. And you would have written, and I'm sure the company would have written to Exxon to say, can you give me your insurance? And they would have had an answer because they reported Exxon's response to the question of the insurance, that they have it and their other partners will be getting it. So quite sure there was a back and forth between November 2019 and March 2021 between Exxon, GRA, Department of Energy, and all others. So the response by the government is obviously lacking and is obviously being caught out. And having been caught out, they still cannot say as of today what is the status of that audit. All they're doing is blaming the persons contracted or world-renowned firm. No one, GRA nor the government, has said, well, listen to me, that we saw it, we corrected the mistakes, Exxon has responded, and we'll issue the final audit publicly. They have not said that today. So something is amiss.
Thank you, David Patterson, MP. Svetlana Marshall, would you like to pose your question?
Yes, please. Good afternoon, Svetlana Marshall from News Source. To Mr. Ramjatan and Mr. Patterson, given the plethora of issues highlighted by GRA on the report compiled by IHS Markit, do you think that the government will be able to be in a position to disallow the questionable expenses? In other words, what would be the impact on the final report and its outcome?
Well, look, the final report, as we understand it now, from that professional company is out. And their final report has all of these things that Stabroek News is now publishing. It even had recommendations in that report. So that's the final report. And I rather think that IHS Markit is going to stand by its report. And so indeed, the government of the day will have to stand by IHS. Otherwise, it will simply be in an incestuous relationship with Exxon. Exxon has not provided the explanation that the market people have asked for them for a whole year almost, right up to 2021 March. So this was a cover-up. Thank God Stabroek News managed to get the bloody report. And that is what you journalists will have to now do. Understand all the implications and repercussions of it. Because we were begging for it all the time. We weren't getting it. And we now know why they were not giving us. Because it got all this scampishness in it. We being denied approximately $25 million. And you know what will happen with that kind of money? Now, when you have this relationship, strange bedfellow relationship, it is going to be that the government could always now work out deals with Exxon, the transnational giant, and say that, look, we would need some money for a quarantine stadium. We got some base supporters there and that will be outside of the arrangement of the constitutional public monies section, the finance section of the Constitution. This is what is being done all the time by that smart man called Jagdeo. A lot of people say I'm talking a lot of stupidness about him. It is indeed he who is the intellectual author of all these things.
Ms. Marshall, just to say, I mean, GRA has identified what you administrative procedural, in their opinion, non-compliance by the auditor. The biggest of this, obviously, is that they didn't give Exxon a chance to respond. They've never questioned, and I have not seen a question, the numbers placed there by IHS Marketing Inc. So in other words, their GRA is saying that what has not happened is that they have not allowed Exxon the time to respond or to go back in their records and find these informations and those things like that. They're not disputing that $214 million should not have been in the cost bank. They're not disputing that Exxon did not have a work plan. They're not disputing that there was no insurance in place. They're not disputing that they overpaid for the FPSO and those things like that. They're not disputing that. They're saying that administratively, according to GRA, that before they would like Exxon to come in, ISS has a different mandate. ISS provided the government with a report, a final report, and just like we do in the public accounts when the Auditor General provides his audit report, he has a back and forth with the agencies, and then there's a deadline, and he produces his audit report. And then what we do is we call the accounting agencies before us, and we say, this is what the AG is found as of the 31st of September every single month. Have you any updates? Are you challenging this? If they can't challenge and verify it, then just like we do in the PSC, further actions are being taken. It's no different. It's only because the audit principles are the same. There's no difference in the procedures, but they are trying to make it sound as though because it's Exxon, it's a super special arrangement in auditing it. It's a more technical arrangement where the procedures for us getting back our money remains the same. Just like the PSC, Auditor General produces a report, the accounting officer, which would be in this case Exxon, you say to them, this is it. In some cases, the PSC, the accounting officers come to additional information and we accept them at the PSC. That's the exact same thing. Can't take Exxon 2 years to and the government 2 years to go over their notes. So there's no difference. And we do think that something fishy has been going on.
Thank you, David. I actually have in our chat 4 questions from Kiana Wilberg. Kiana has explained that she has some difficulties with her instrument in raising these questions. They are in the chat. So let me go through them. First question to our panelists. Are you concerned that the authorities are still on the audit of the pre-contract costs, while several others for a portion of Liza 2 and the full costs of Parara, Yellowtail are yet to be reviewed? And the second one would be, would the AFC be reaching out to IHS Market to address the accusations of deficiencies raised by GRA? So, Kamraj and David, could you tackle those two?
Well, let me start with the first question, and then Kamraj will defer. Look, listen to me. We are so happy that Kaichor News were able to get their hands on this. Tabuk News, was able to get their hands on this document. First and foremost, even if GRA or the government accepts it or not, it sets a benchmark for Guyanese or what we would want to see in an audit. Obviously, there is another audit out to be done by a local firm in collaboration with an overseas firm. That report, Kiani, is supposed to be issued since the end of last month. It's been dragging on, and we will be able to see and compare irrespective of what is the product, the end product. Without this, maybe the second report could have been just a simple gloss over, rubber stamping. As you know, I know Kaiser News has already expressed concerns by the auditors, saying that they're not there to audit, they're just there to verify, which obviously this shows you it's not what is needed, because the IHS marketing audit went through the contract, and they didn't just verify payments, they went through what was obligated by the under the PSA, and you're obligated to produce a work plan. That and you're obligated to give the work plan to the GMC or whoever it is, the authority. They didn't just look at the money, the financial issue. Right. So that sets a benchmark. So if the other new company comes here now and just says to us, oh, the dollar values are thing, you know that their audit will be deficient. And obviously, we are very, very concerned because of the pace in which Exxon is going. The mere fact that they've already admitted and acknowledged that the Lisa 1 SPSO has been fully paid up already, the cost recoverable. But and this audit shows that even their numbers are inflated. And we now have 3 or 4 other Lisa 2 is online. PRO should be online sometime this year. And we still can't get a true picture of how Exxon is billing and auditing us. So we are very concerned about it. I'm glad that Kemraj said that we had a copy of the report. I haven't seen it. As soon as I get it, I will obviously make a few more statements. On the question of ISS marketing to address the acquisition, I do think as a professional firm, world renowned, that they will make a comment on their own. If not, we would have to seek on them. But I'm sure the newspapers can reach out to them once they release their once the document is released, widely circulated, and I'm sure as an international firm with international reputation to protect. Because Guyana, as Cameron said, they had 50,000 clients. I mean, Guyana just won. So they definitely would want to, for the records, state their position.
Okay, Cameron, did you have anything to add? If not,
No, I think that was answered very nicely by David.
Okay, great, thank you. So the third question, since the 2016 Stabroek Block contract states that Guyana has to prove through legal means that costs incurred by Exxon are questionable before they can be returned to the state, do you believe the country stands a chance in doing so against an oil giant? And the fourth and final question, what aspects of the model PSA for deep water and shallow water do you agree or disagree with? Excuse me? And have you submitted recommendations to the government on this front?
With the question of recouping monies from the government based the costs incurred by questionable costs, and absolutely do believe without it we stand a very good chance of it, as long as we have the political will. Because obviously we have to remember also, and I think that on several occasions we keep forgetting that Exxon is just a subsidiary of the larger firm Exxon Mobil. So for the $214 or $50 million found in the very first audit, I would actually say though, should Exxon Guyana not honor it, we can actually bring a case internationally against Exxon Mobil. I'm sure with all this sometimes negative publicity they get because they're getting on the Guyana operation, including flaring, wastewater, lack of insurance, and those things. I'm sure ExxonMobil, with the board that they have, would not want to have a law case brought to us based on an international audit. But it's a question of political will. So that's what I'm thinking. So once we have the political will, I do think that every cent that is owed to Guyanese should be and can be recouped.
I totally agree with David there, that we have every capacity to get the monies, which I have already calculated at 12.5% of 214 million is in excess of 25 million US dollars. And that can come into our coffers, just like the $2 billion and so on. But I fear that in view of the attitude of our government, especially the one who is more or less in charge of the government, Bara Jagdeo, that there is a whole host of events and developments that have occurred, which gives me the impression, and this is my opinion, and I can share my opinion here, that they do not want to go after Exxon. They knock off Vincent Adams from the EPA. They knock off Dr. Jadupat and so on. These are people that have a capacity to ensure that there is scrutiny. And they knock out, they do not want to be seen to be scrutinizing. So that is the political will I think David is getting at. And so we might very well hear Jagdeo coming up with other explanations now, stating that, it's better we leave it as it is. Well, he's going to get plenty trouble from the Alliance for Change for that. Legal trouble and political trouble.
And Kiana, sorry, on the last question, which is to do with the PSA, myself and Vincent Adams actually, and he has a team of, I wouldn't say colleagues, because I don't know them as well as he is, are actually going through it as we speak, and we have a lot of recommendations, and we agree with some, we disagree with others. Unfortunately, the 14 days is very, very quick. But irrespective of that, we will be making our recommendations public. I reckon sometime by mid next week, we will make our comments public on the model PSA being put out by the government. I must say, for the record, I don't know what is the rush. They put it out and they give you 14 days. That is just by the national. The National Resource Fund and the
Natural Resource
and the local content bill. They put it out over Christmas and they give you 14 days. Of course, you can see the deficiencies in local content legislation. And I think not even as the shadow minister, have not a clue what the board of the Natural Resource Fund has done. I don't even know if they've met. They've not issued a report. I don't even know if there's a secretariat. I don't even know if there's a contact number to them. I don't know if anyone in the media, because I would love to contact them to find out exactly what they've done since they've been appointed. But that is what the PVP do. They call this transparency, give you a very limited time to go through some legal matters. And of course, in the end, it always proves deficient on their part.
Thank you. I see Adam Harris has his hand up. Adam, over to you.
Thank you. Mr. Ramjatan, Mr. Patterson. One of the excuses I fear, and that's something I've been hearing all along the way, is that Exxon could be the buffer between Guyana and Venezuela in the event of Venezuela contemplating hostile action to take Essequibo or what have you. Would you accept that as an excuse from the government?
Nope, we will certainly not. Exxon is a commercial company that is exploiting, exploring, and producing oil under a contract that we arranged in 2016. Exxon is not with any capacity for diplomacy and a buffer. Exxon will have its government, the United States government, that will ensure that it secures its interest here. But its interest will be secured in accordance with the rule of law and the rule of accountancy and the rule of the IHSM market rules and so on. And we're going to carry this thing also to the American ambassador here as to what it is that has been happening to. They're the ones who will be the buffer in relation to any violation of Guyana's sovereignty. It is not ExxonMobil. And if the government is going to fool its supporters by we got to take it easy in relation to this audit on Exxon because Exxon is we buffer, well, that is a lot of deception. And I think they will want to play that too, their support base. But it is very, very wrong, and it is totally without any validity.
Adam, I just want to add to what I agree with Cameron. I want to add Exxon is an operator and valued partner for us in the oil and gas sector. However, what you're suggesting is that Exxon now has a role as a mercenary, which is, how you pay mercenaries to private sector mercenaries to come into your country and protect it. I don't think that Exxon will like that label. I don't think Exxon does that label. But in other words, what you're saying is that Exxon will not, we're giving Exxon this leeway, act as a mercenary for the country. I don't think so. As Cameron says, like they've done with Chevron, with Venezuela, and those are things the American government will, and they do for every other agency, will do what they can to protect Exxon's interests. We're going out to tenders for other oil blocks. I don't know how successful it will be. But there'll be other multinationals there as well, I would assume. The Kanji and the Kaito block has different multinationals. Spanish Repsol is there, the BP is there, Tullow is there. So their countries, and if they do strike oil, all their countries will look after their interest. So this idea of Exxon as the sole mercenary on behalf of the Guyanese public is ludicrous. And maybe, as Cameron said, the people want to say that to their supporters, but it's absolutely ludicrous.
Thank you very much. I actually do not see any other requests for questions. I don't see any hands up. I will just ask before we sign off if anyone else has any questions from the media or to our presenters, any comments that they would want to make.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I know the Vice President has a press conference at 2:00, which is another 12 minutes, and I know that perhaps the reporters want to race across to that.
Sure.
So I would like to ask Ms. Director of Finance about the Public Accounts Committee and Gail Teixeira's response. She said Gail justifies what's happening and talking about the volume of the quantity of meetings and all of that. Ms. Finance, do you get the impression that the government side deliberately prolongs discussions on some of the issues? I was listening to Mondays and I got the impression that they were really trying to stretch out discussions so that you can look at fewer accounts. Is that a genuine observation on my part?
Well, thank you for the question, Mr. Hart. It has been my observation and my experience that the government does do that. And I can tell you this, we have had cases in which members of the PPP side there of the PAC would not be present at meetings. We would have an entire discussion on an issue. And when they come to a meeting, another meeting, they want to ask the very same question. And I have a serious issue with that. And at last Monday's meeting, I was very upset. With the same thing going on, we had an entire discussion when Mr. Shear was not present at the meeting, and then there she was asking questions on the very same matter. And I was very upset about it because we can't be doing that. I think it's dragging the work. You're not going to get a different response from the persons there. We have the note takers there. We have the answer that we can report and all of those things. So I do believe that to be the case. And more importantly, I believe that I have noted a lot in the press of 2019. They need to put more emphasis in 2019. I think that's just playing to their support base, to give their support base something to hold on to. But I think the PPP, time and time again, they fail to understand that we are living in an information age, and persons are more exposed to information today than they were before. And that's why it's important for us to come and refute some of these things, in saying that, for example, under the AP and UAFC administration, there were less meetings than now. The ordinary person doesn't understand would say, that's crazy. But then if you know that under the AP and UAFC administration, the PVP was chairing the PAC, and at that time, it did not require not a single member of the government, then AP and UAFC, to be present there for the meetings to be had. It gives absolutely no excuse for them to have had less meetings. So they continue to play off of these things, but the fact is that we are seeing the budget go closer and closer to that of $1 trillion. The next budget, 2024 budget, may very well meet $1 trillion, and we are still at the beginning of examining the 2019 reports. Those pose serious threats to accountability altogether. Even the matter that is being discussed right now, major issues as it pertains to oil and gas and all of those things, and then we're hearing excuses like, oh, we got to take our time with this and that. When it comes to the examination of the reports at the level of the PAC, I want persons to understand that there is no difference in how the reports are being examined. And there is no difference in the way in which the audit office presented its report for any of those years in questions. And what the examination of the agencies were done in the exact same way for all of the agencies that appears in the audit office, the Audit General's report there. So there's no excuse, it's frivolous, and I think it's about time that we have senior members in government coming forward and making statements to the press that's absolutely ludicrous.
Thank you, Jaritha. As we close off, Kemraj, I'm wondering if I could ask you to just give some initial reactions to the decision of the International Court of Justice regarding Venezuela's objection. Is there anything you might want to comment or add to that?
I am very happy to hear the result that indeed it was dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read the extensive report that was sent to me by, who is it, Carl? But it is very good news,
Mm-hmm.
and it is something that we had expected. I hope that I got the short version of the news that we won.
Yes, that's correct.
In regard that it was dismissed.
Yes.
We know that Venezuela, in relation to that issue, had absolutely no merit. And so I want to congratulate our lawyers. And I also want to congratulate the fact that it all started under the coalition government.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we managed to now get the matter into the ICJ and the ICJ's ruling. And this ruling is reflective, in my view, of what will be the ultimate ruling in relation to the substantive matter as to whether there was any fraud in relation to that arbitration. I don't see that happening at all. Yep. So it is one more positive development in the bringing to a closure that border issue or dispute that is before the ICJ.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, sorry. One quick thing, Kemraj. I see Anil was there at the end. You're congratulating him too?
Yeah, well, we are going to embrace our new Attorney General in ensuring that he was there to take the decision. Oh yes, he's a fella that loves to be there, to talk to himself and so on, as you know. And so I'm not going to go and be, being anything negative. Let's hug and embrace him. Thanks for being there. Probably by him being there, we won the case, quite frankly.
Yeah, right. Anyway, thank you very much to our presenters, Jaritha Finance, David Patterson, and also Kemraj Ramjatan, and especially to our members of the media that joined us today. This weekend is a very important week in the Christian calendar. And we definitely would like to wish all of Guyana a very, very happy Easter. And of course, we know that especially tomorrow, Good Friday tends to be a day of reflection. So we wish everyone a happy Easter. And most importantly, we continue to have lots of deaths on the road. So we ask people to be safe. And thank you very much for joining us.
Take care. Thank you.